Okay, thank you, Bu Arum and Mbak Aulia. Thank you guys for staying with us, and we will continue our materials today. The next topic is Principles of Language Assessment. This topic will be presented by me and Mas Migdat. So here we go. Yeah, what is assessment? According to Brown 2003, assessment is an ongoing process that encompasses a much wider domain. To do an assessment, a teacher should consider many aspects in determining the final scores of the students. An aspect that plays crucial role is a test. A good test is constructed by considering the principles of language assessment. So there are five principles of language assessment. The first is reliability, validity, practicality, authenticity, and washback. The first is reliability. So, what is reliability? Reliability is the extent to which an assessment method or instrument measures consistently the performance of the students. Reliability refers to the consistency of the scores obtained. It means that if the test is administered to the same students on different occasions, then it will produce almost the same result. Reliability actually doesn't deal with the test itself. It deals with the result of the test, and the test result should be consistent. Yeah, a test might be unreliable. There are four factors that contribute to the unreliability of the test according to Brown 2004. The first is student-related reliability. It is related to factors that might contribute to the students themselves, such as illness, fatigue, anxiety, or any other physical and psychological factors which make the observed score unreflective to the actual student's performance. And then, the second is rata reliability. Rata reliability deals with the scoring process. Factors that can affect the reliability might be human subjectivity, bias, and error in scoring process. This kind of reliability falls into two categories. They are inter-rater reliability and intra-rater reliability. Inter-rater reliability occurs when two or more scorers yield inconsistent scores of the same type. Possibility for lack of attention to scoring criteria, inexperience in attention, or even biases. And then intra-rater reliability is a common occurrence for classroom teachers because of unclear scoring criteria, fatigue, and bias toward particular good or bad students or simple carelessness. And then the third factor is test administration reliability. It concerns with the condition and situation in which the test is administered. To increase the degree of this kind of reliability test, teachers as the administrators should consider all the things related to the administration. For instance, if we want to conduct a listening test, we should provide a room which is very comfortable to listening environment. The noise from outside the room cannot enter the room, and then for the audio system should clear to all students. Even we have to consider the lighting, the condition of the desk and chairs as well. The last factor is test reliability. Test reliability refers to the test itself, whether the test fits into the time constraint, and it means that the test should not be too long or short. The items also of the test should be crystal clear that it will not end with ambiguity. Now, let's talk about validity. Validity refers to the degree to which a method assesses what they are supposed or intended to assess. The tests themselves are not valid or invalid. Instead, we validate the use of a test score. A test of listening ability must actually measure listening ability. For example, if a student is given a reading test about a metamorphosis of the butterfly, a valid test will measure the reading ability, not his or her prior knowledge about the metamorphosis of a butterfly. So, the student is tested his or her reading abilities such as identifying general or specific information of the text. And then the test should make the student realize on his or her reading ability to complete the test. Brown 2004 proposed 5 ways to establish validity. They are content validity, criterion validity, construct validity, consequential validity, and phase validity. Now, let's talk deeper about content validity. Content validity is the correlation between the contents of the test and the language skills, structures, etc., with which it is meant to be measured has to be crystal clear. The test items should really represent the course objective. What do you think if a listening test requires students to read passage to complete the passage instead of requiring students to listening attentively? Does the test have the content validity? No, it doesn't. No. Then the second is criterion validity. This kind of validity emphasizes on the relationship between the test score and the outcome. The test score should really represent the criterion that is intended to measure in the test. The third is construct validity. It refers to concepts or theories which are underlying the usage of certain ability, including language ability. Construct validity shows that the result of the test really represents the same construct with the ability of the students which is being measured. And then the consequential validity, it refers to the social consequences of using a particular test for a particular purpose. The use of a test is said to have consequential validity to the extent that society benefits from the use of the test. And then the last type is face validity. A test is said to have face validity if it looks to other testers, teachers, moderators, and students as if it measures what it's supposed to measure. In speaking tests, for example, face validity can be shown by speaking activities as the main activities in the test. The test should focus on students' activities in speaking, not anything else. The test can be judged to have face validity by simply look at the items of the test. Note that face validity can affect students in doing the test. In conclusion, reliability means the results are consistent, and then for the validity means that the results satisfy the objectives. The principle of assessment for reliability is use only assessment tools that provide dependable and consistent information. And then the principle of assessment for validity use only assessment procedures and instruments that have been demonstrated to be valid for the specific purpose for which they are being used. This is the end of my part. Please continue the presentation with Mas Mikdad. Mas Mikdad, time is yours.
Okay, guys, this time I will tell you about the practicality. What is practicality? Maybe you are confused what is the practicality in assessment. Practicality is the first characteristic of an effective test because practicality relates to the consideration of cost of a test, time allotment, test administration, human resource, test construction, and test scoring. Okay. Okay, let's move again about the practicality. So no matter how valid or how reliable the test is, This is there is another thing that you should consider. It's practicality to make the test becomes practical, and then you should following this guidance. The first one is it is economical to deliver and it is not excessively expensive. For example, when you are having a mid test for your students, you are a teacher and you are going to have a mid test, you should consider about the students. You cannot did a test like a TOEFL that cost the students about maybe $100. It is very expensive and the student cannot afford it maybe, so it become impractical. The second one is the layouts should be easy to follow and understand. This is the thing when we are doing a test and then the student is confused by the test itself without know the material, the layout itself is confusing, the instruction maybe is not completed or maybe it's not clear enough, then it can be considered as impractical. And the third one is it stays within appropriate time constraints. So when we are doing a test that exceed the limit of the time allotted, for example, you have 1 hour to do test, English test, listening, for example, and then you do a test that consume maybe 3 hours, then it's become impractical because it exceed the limit of the time allotted. And the fourth one is it is relatively easy to administer. This is about the administration of the test. And then the last one is its correct evaluation procedure in specific and time efficient. This is like what I talked before. It's about time management and then about the scoring rubric itself. You should did should have a good scoring rubric to score. So the test itself can be scored or maybe valued to generate the score. Okay, now we are going to talk about the fourth principles. It's authenticity. Okay, let's move to the definition of the authenticity itself. Rahman and Palmer in 1996 defined authenticity as the degree of correspondence of the characteristic of a given language test task to the features of a target language task, and then suggest an agenda for identifying those target language tasks and for transforming them into valid test items. Okay, we come to the factors that can make your assessment or test become authentic. Brown and Abe Wikrama in 2010 mentioned that authentic assessment should be contains language that is as natural as possible. So make sure that your test is natural. For example, there is a text in your test. Uh, the text saying, "What is your name?" And the answer is, "My name is Agus," or maybe "My name is Tony." This is an example of unnatural, or the text is weird or not natural. Because when in real life, when you meet a native speakers and you ask them, "What is your name?" they will just answer it Tony or maybe Agus. They will answer it directly by their name, not "My name is," no. Native speaker will never say "My name is Tony, my name is Agus." This is very unnatural. Okay. The second one is has items that are contextualized rather than isolated. I will give you a simple explanation of this. For example, when we are doing a vocabulary test, and then you put the question like, what is the meaning of blah blah blah? This is a very isolated one because uh, we did we do not give the student a context of this kind of vocabulary. Let's just saying give the text maybe uh, the test is a very hard for the students, but the teachers think that this is a very trivial. Uh, then we give an underline to the word that we want to the students to translate it or maybe give a meaning about it. For example, we give underline to the trivial. So it is an example to make the test become more contextual. And the third one is includes meaningful, relevant, interesting topic. Don't make your test become a dull or maybe something that very not relate to the student itself. The fourth one is provide some thematic organization to items such as through a storyline or episode over tasks that replicate real world tasks. This become a very concern because sometimes we are giving the students a test that are not related to the real world. We do not, we cannot find it in the real world. Okay, guys, after we make sure that the test is valid, the test is reliable, the test is authentic, and then the test is practical, there is another one that we should be concerned about. It's about flashback. Okay, we come to the fifth or the last principle of a good and effective test. This is a flashback or maybe backwards. Flashback can be defined as the effect of the test or assessment on teaching, learning, learner, or government and society. So in this context or assessment, maybe the effect of the test or assessment to the student. We come to the kinds of aspect. There is two kind of aspect. The first one is positive aspect. That the characteristic is it encourages students, or maybe it clarifies concept. And the second one is negative aspect. That makes the students nervous or maybe feeling anxious. Okay, and I will give you an example of the positive aspect. For example, since there is a writing test in the national examination, teachers who were previously reluctant to teach writing, then they start to teach writing. Knowing that the test is always challenging to the students, then the students are motivated to learn and make better preparation for the test. This is the example of positive aspect. However, when teachers know that the national examination always use multiple choice test items, then in the teaching and learning activities, the teacher drill the students on how to do multiple choice test, forgetting teaching students the process of learning. This is an example of negative aspect because the students will just know how to do uh, multiple choice, not to make better preparation, or maybe knowing there is a multiple choice examination, students are busy preparing the effective strategy for cheating. This is the worst negative aspect. Okay, that's all from our group. We are talking about first chapter and the second chapter of Brown's book. in 2004. Thank you for your participation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.